And so that's live. So this time, sometimes we do, let's record this and have it make a transcript. And sometimes we say have Gemini, and sometimes we say, go a different route. And so this one, I did the Gemini before and told Gemini to transcribe and then enabled the recording. And that's important because today we're going to be talking about different transcript tooling. Which was the one, were you the one who was using, is it Otter, I think is one of them?
So Otter is one of them. We've used Otter for other things, but never used it for meeting transcriptions. I use Fireflies and Fathom. Oh, and my camera's offline. That's why my camera looks washed out, because it's the wrong camera.
That's exactly what I thought was going to happen. So that's cool. So we record these, right? Yeah. And let's just try to figure out what the fuck is happening here. That is not what I wanted. Oh, yes, it's this one, and then this one, and then this one. One of the other things we have on our to possibly discuss in the future lists was to talk about, startup-y things and how to publish online, but none of it uses the phrase content strategy. And maybe, and that's part of what this is. And then also, that's from Open Coffee, Tuesday's Open Coffee, right? It's a very popular topic for the early stage entrepreneur is get your content strategy going, get your noise machine. I say noise machine, out there doing stuff. And then we talk about, how to produce some content, meeting content, just bark at your camera for a little bit and see what it does, and so let's try that now. Can you enable one of those other transcripty ones?
I can
this one, like I would say pick one.
I can send Fathom in easy. I've got a button sitting here to do it. Fathom is like almost completely, it has schedules. It can join meetings, but it has a button and a desktop interface, so there's a whole little UI for it.
Person wants to join, admit, Fathom note taker.
So but in Google Meet, Fathom shows up as another user, and it shows up in the recordings as a user.
Well, that's cool. I don't know what that's going to look like in the video here, but that's okay. I mean, I know what I can do. Oh, this is not that awesome. So let's share that screen. So now I guess it's kind of silly because I'm sharing my screen and now we're going to get like the infinity mirror business going on. But, there it is. And there's your Fathom note taker. They've got a recording and taking notes thing, and it looks cool. It joined in like any other user.
Yep.
So that's all right.
Yeah. Let's see if I share.
Does it do notes, or is it going to do the full?
Let's see if I
try to do a verbatim transcription.
I have a feeling it might hide itself, so I may not be able to show it. Let me see here. Yeah, okay, here we go. So this is a previous Fathom call in the browser, but right here up in the right is the current Fathom interface. So I can hit highlight. It will take a specific highlight.
But you use. Oh, okay, I see. You have this.
So the thing I use the most is the highlight button, because I'm talking to a client and they say, and this is the magic reason why we need somebody to help us.
Oh my goodness.
I hit that button and it it intelligently looks back to the beginning of that little segment of conversation, and now it will build a highlight around that.
I'm going to tell you, I know a lot about that feature set because a cajillion years ago, at a startup that I was, the founding CTO level kind of person at, one of the features that we were doing it was Discuss.io. We were doing the qualitative market research. And one of the early features we had in our, hey, we are recording your meeting, before it was like trivial to record a meeting with Google Meet or something, 2012, 2013, WebRTC was like brand new almost at this time, right? I mean, when we started off, we were still fighting Flash.
Yep.
That's how long ago this was. But one of the things we did was we added the stoplight into the meeting recording, which looks very much like this. Same color scheme, stoplight, 3 buttons. No fucking wonder,
Yep.
right? And it's just, you press this button, and when you press the button, we put a highlight in the timeline 5 seconds before you press the button. And, and then had that appear later in the timeline to like do what? Oh, look at this.
So I can add, so like if I have regular meetings that have some sort of regular cadence, like say you're doing your sprint planning and your retros and your whatever, right? Your postmortems. So you can build some options. You can build all your own little buttons here. And so you can add something, right? And it will add, I think it will add update live.
Let's find out. Buttoning.
So there we go, right? And so now I hit that button and it says, okay, I'm doing a highlight of that type, right? So I just said, oh, okay, that was my retro. And I'm like, oh, somebody just said something really important about this, about why this went wrong, right? Or why this went right. And I can say positive or negative, and I hit that button and it will track it to that. So then when we come back,
seconds there.
Yeah. So, and it mostly follows the speaker. So like it's when somebody else will talk, it might break it. So it's a little finicky, but it's generally really helpful. But like I said, I pretty much just use highlight for everything because I'm the only person that cares about my recordings.
Right. Just make one button easy.
Right. David explains button functionality for tracking positive and negative meeting highlights. I mean, and I've got a little summary of it right there in my UI. Right.
That's pretty cool. That's very cool, actually.
It's very nice.
And do you have a previous meeting that did Fathom create like?
Yeah. So this one was
UI
one of ours.
Transcript.
I think this was the ATS. I don't remember if this was just us talking or if this was the ATS. I don't think it was.
Yeah, I remember that one.
So right now we're seeing a summary view. Now, I have many different options for how they do the thing. The free tier, you just get the chronological, but they have added, at least for now, so you can get access to some of the more advanced options. Hold
on. Go back and take a look at that. Comparing so it put together. Oh, that is your basically AI summary of the thing.
Yep.
And so
this is your AI summary of segments, right? You're seeing it in segments now.
Yeah.
And if I hit that, it will go and play back that section. And that's very useful. You can use, they're paid features, but like I said, you can trial them even in the free tier. So if I switch to a different style, then we get, meeting purpose and some takeaways, topics, right? We get more detailed, difficulty in determining good job.
Things that I do,
and that's really what we're talking about it.
That's stuff that I sort of do manually right now. My run book for a meeting is finish the meeting. If there's any recording or any of that stuff going on, move that to where it needs to be.
Right.
Organize it in my drive, things like that. The transcript that I find from Google Meet, there's actually 2 different transcripts that show up. I have an old meeting that we did
Probably have this same one. This was the March 12th.
I can pull up March 12th. Yeah, so here's my March 12th transcript. I wonder if this thing will do okay if we try to share two screens
See what happens.
at the same time. This will allow you to take over. We are going to find out. So this is that transcript, and you can see it puts your name sort of a lot.
Yep.
Oh,
It
and
does put your name a lot.
stamps every 5 minutes or so. If you pause for a second, it'll have your name, that sentence you said, and then have your name again, and then that sentence you said. And that's kind of a little not awesome. But I was taking this, and then I feed that into GPT or Gemini manually, or I had been doing that, and saying, give me a summary. Well, not copy and paste. Download as Markdown.
Okay. Yeah.
And then that kept crapping out when I would send it into GPT. Like if you had I was uploading the file with the extension .md and it was barfing, but I switched the extension to txt. It worked out okay. You could also just grab this as plain text and send it in there.
Yeah, you could just copy and paste it straight from the UI and drop it in. Yeah.
Gemini did okay with adding the Markdown file, and I couldn't just copy and paste it in because it says, "Oh, your shit is too long."
Interesting.
That was on UI.
That's the free version, right?
Yeah, that's right. For GPT, I use the UI, no money, but I give them money
for the API
or API stuff.
Right. Yeah. So on Plus, I paste hour-long transcripts in just straight into the UI.
Oh yeah, I'm not on Plus. Like I had it doing a little work for me yesterday, and it was like, hey, you ran out of shit on your free usage of 4.0, so you're going to just get downscaled to a different model.
There is no smaller model. I just hit that right now on my Plus plan, and I'm like, there is no smaller model. What are you giving me? And it's sitting in a recursive loop where it says we're going to use a different model, and there is no different model. So
that's whack.
And that was the 30 seconds right before the call. So if I looked frustrated, I was like, what's going on?
That's what happened. So this is the one from talking about Ader.
Yeah.
And this one I did the notes, and I said, we said Gemini notes, but I don't remember if I checked the box. And then I said record, and I know I had the box checked for transcribe there. And what was neat is that the Google Meet put those both together in one document with these like document tabs, magic trick that they do. And so this actually gave a nice summary, which is same as the manual stuff I was doing out of Gemini or GPT.
So that has links to then actually take it to the live transcript and show you that section.
Oh yeah, with these little times and stuff. Yeah, bring a thing and click the thing and boom, here you go.
Okay, it takes you to the transcript section.
This transcript that's attached into the notes by Gemini, look at this. It's way grouped better.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah. Oh, then the other
paragraph of text instead of my name or your name before a sentence fragment. So the transcript's just like, what's the most popular word on any of the transcripts that we've got?
That's so much more like what Fathom gives in its UI, except that I can link. Not only is it linked between summary and transcript, it's also linked to the audio and video.
I took one of the ones and I just pasted it right in the little blog where I'm replaying this stuff, publish once, syndicates kind of thing. And so my name appears 313 times on the page, because it's just like all repeating it in the who is speaking part of the transcript. You're in there 267 times,
Right.
That's annoying. That's what this OG transcript from Just Record does. But when it's Gemini, this is much cleaner. And then Gemini gives those nice notes, bunch of bullet points that it creates. That's pretty cool. Some of the words we use, it doesn't seem to know them.
Right.
Right. Ader is not spelled correctly. I mentioned a thing called Revis, which it didn't put correctly. You know, exotic words. When I say Edochio, it's like, what the hell is that? You know?
Yep. With let me switch back to
I
Fathom
thought
here.
this was pretty good when Gemini got it.
Yeah.
Put the transcript in.
So Fathom's transcript UI is here, and like each any section links straight to the audio video. So it'll take you to wherever I said something stupid. Copy transcript does that. It's hidden behind here. There's a yeah, and it's the copy transcript is not super reliable, but it is copying the full transcript into your copy paste buffer. So there it goes. It's done. When it pops up green, it succeeded. And that is literally just this result. So similar, just plain text. And you get a link to the recording. The
Doesn't look like it's a standard transcription format like WebVTT or whatever the hell.
Yeah, it's not SRT, it's not VTT, it's just a block of blocks of text. Correct. No markdown, handing it to 4.0 mini or something and say, hey, format this in markdown for me. You can get markdown out of it. I've formatted it SRT with that way too. The summary, you get some options with summary. Let me see so you can copy that summary as a Notion, which is really just markdown. So like if I copy summary here, I just get a markdown version of that summary with all the links and everything. And if I turn on markdown, it will look a lot better. Thank you, Sublime. Well, better, but still, it looks like code. But you can also copy it in Google Docs format, feed it to Gmail, copy it in Word format straight from the UI. So kind of, which is really nice to have those options. You can't do that with the transcript, but you can chat with it. I've actually never used this one. I just feed the transcript to my own tool, my own LLM, and run from there. One of the cool features is it looks at every question that I asked and every question that the other parties asked, right? So
yeah, I saw that.
It automatically sets all that stuff up. Where's David?
Remember James from Heavy Resume? So yeah. I got a hangout set up with him in a couple days. Because he's got experience with those AI machines, sending in good prompts and, doing the stuff through the AI. I got like, I don't know, 300 or 400 of these investor meetings, investors and pitches. I'm trying to figure out, I guess the big goal is like, what if you could have a AI be your angel investor or your venture capital? And I haven't figured that part out. And I feel like that's very, very far away.
Right.
But being able to help the entrepreneur side on their pitch by making sure you cover all of the shit that people keep asking over and over because you forgot to put it in your pitch, or to hear, there's just loads and loads and loads of common feedback, right? In these 1,200 meetings. The same questions over and over, and so I have this big, huge blob of text. Got to figure out how to, go through like this, which one was it? Fathom was doing, and identify when is somebody asking the question, what is that question? And then maybe categorize the question and try to figure out which questions are happening more. It's cool that Fathom captures that out of the box. So now I'm sure that I will be able to figure out how to do this on this custom tooling.
One thing I don't like, and this is a Google Meet problem, with Fathom and Google Meet, Fathom itself shows up in the video recording all the time. So we have, in this case, we've got 3 participants, and so Fathom is one of those participants. If I do this on Zoom, it's able to exclude itself, and so I only get the actual participants.
Well, there's this Meet setting I could maybe change that says Well, I could remove it from the call, but there's another option that just says don't watch. I wonder if that just turns it off for me.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, it just turned it from...
Oh, yeah, because it didn't disappear from me.
They've just got a video stream that's putting that background in there, and you just basically, it's just turning...
Yeah.
It's not taking them out or hiding them, it's just stopping their video.
Yeah.
Probably only stopping it on mine, maybe not.
When if we can see the difference here, the rest of these are Zoom calls, and this is Google Meet. So Google Meet, it's just always the the gallery view, and Zoom it does back and forth, and it completely ignores its own video. So it's nicer with Zoom, but it works fine with Meet. I end up using Fireflies with Meet because there's a browser extension that will transparently, for better or worse, use your own account, do this at your own choice, but it will transparently record the call. So it doesn't say, hey, I'm recording the call, do the things, but it's audio only. They do have a video feature. I've never used it. It's in another tier of paid plan. I pay for Fireflies.
Fireflies.
It transcribes very well. It's the best transcription engine I've encountered from audio. You can upload recordings to it, so it doesn't have to be, you can upload audio or video recordings to it, and it will transcribe them, not just live recordings. And so that's also very useful, because in Fathom, I can actually download the video. So I can go here and...
Can you jump back to that one in Fireflies real quick?
Yeah.
So you can see right there, speakers, David Busby takes 72% of the time, but only says 170 words per minute. It's like, I love the sound of my own voice and just talk slower for the sake of hearing it. It's nice to see the data on that,
I've never looked over here. They've added things that I don't pay attention to. They've also added and changed the summary stuff. It used to be a fairly generic summary, but it's similar to what we're getting out of Fathom.
I noticed that on Fathom. It was
options.
Its summary said, summarize it in the general way. Summarize it like if it's one of these types of conversations or these types of conversations. And I feel like this is a little bit of, companies have told folks they're going to be deploying AI. Therefore, they have to deploy AI because some PM said they were going to be deploying more AI for improved whatevers. And now they're just, take the meeting and run it through 20 of these different prompts that we finally constructed,
And
now here's the new button.
This one also has the audio. So like if I click something, it takes me to that chunk of audio. I don't know if the audio comes through from the screen share. Does it?
No, I bet there's some noise cancel or something.
Yeah. But when it does, it will play that section of it. You can download the audio, you can download the summary, you can download the transcript. Downside is transcript downloads, I end up mostly downloading SRT. I did build a tool to consume the JSON and produce markdown. But there's no markdown. So you're either looking at docx or PDF and then copying out of that. The SRT is plain text, so it's not bad. And you can turn on and off the timestamps and speaker names and stuff. And
you use Fireflies and Fathom, sort of.
I do.
Whichever one you feel like.
Well, so I use Fireflies in Google Meet recordings because I don't have to press any buttons or make anything happen, and it's transparent because it happens completely inside the browser, from the browser extension.
Completely inside your browser.
Inside my browser.
Yeah,
right.
That's right.
It's not having to join. So there's an advantage to that, right? The other is that so I might still use Fathom. Like I could turn on, we have Fathom joined now. I can still use Fathom and get all of that. And so I kind of get a fallback. But mostly I will use Fireflies because Fireflies has extensive rules you can configure about when and when to not auto join. So any calendar event that matches anything that's created with my Calendly has a specific pattern to what that event looks like. I can use the auto join rules to always join and record without having to do any work. No button pushing, right? To make it so if I need to take a call when I'm away from my desk, I can't use Fathom because I can't push the join button.
Right.
But Fireflies will have joined automatically. It does mean that if I want to use Fathom and not Fireflies, I will go and kick the Fireflies one out, right? Because usually having two recorders sitting there is annoying. We've seen that in meetings all the time when everyone brings their own.
Oh, the open coffee, and I'm hosting that and I join a few minutes early, before any humans show up, there's 3 or 4 note-taking apps that attempt to join.
And you'll see that mine is never one of those because I use the rules to limit it to only join the one stuff that matches my pattern. So if I'm sitting on a client stand-up or I'm joining a community group or whatever, it doesn't match my pattern, and therefore Fireflies doesn't auto join.
Okay, so because sometimes for the meet, and that one's widely announced on Meetup, right?
Yeah.
So lots of people find it and do a drive-by. They just come by one time.
It's in their calendar.
Optimistically add it to their calendar, and then they can't make it for whatever reason, and it's not a super high priority meeting, right? It's very casual, but your robot is set to join everything on your calendar is maybe what's happening.
Yep.
That's interesting.
And the let's see, the rules.
I usually don't have those note takers. I usually don't let them in.
Yeah, right. I don't remember how. I mean, I got it working and then I stopped. Right. Okay. Let's see. Meetings I will auto join. If I invite Fred at Fireflies to AI, it will auto join because it's on the invite, right? And other than that, which is actually turned off.
There's another thing. It says meeting rules.
Yeah, that's it. I think maybe join rules. Here we go. So if the meeting title contains the following words. So if it contains brass tack, it will join because my Calendly always puts brass tack in the meeting, right?
Oh, okay.
And so I mean, you could build this rule set however you like, but that's what works for me. So that way I have auto join turned off, except for that. And it looks like they've added this. So
add one, and I see you have coffee.
Oh, actually, I did do those because this join rule didn't work right. There was 3-4 months as an early adopter that the join rules didn't work, and turning off the auto join didn't work. But the bar rules did work, so I could get it to stop joining lean coffees and open coffees and stuff like that by adding those rules. And then eventually they fixed the bugs, and now it works right. But that's software development. It has a chat bot as well.
Eating some dog food, they used to say. I bet some people still say that.
Yep. Let's see, where was the 13?
One of the other ones we wanted to chat about was Otter. Do you use Otter at all? I don't. I see it show up at meetings. Sometimes folks invite me to one with them, and they're like, "I'm going to record with Otter. Is that okay with you?" And I'm like, "Sure, why not?"
We use it.
Somehow now you end up agreeing to that company's terms of service, even though you never interact with the company, because now you're in their universe. But hey, the digital future we have chosen.
Right. So we used Otter. Mary bought Otter for using it to record conversation and talking to herself for recording stories. So she's a sci-fi writer, and so she bought it to be able to just turn the phone on or use her headset and record. And we had lots and lots of trouble with it failing to record. What it would do is it wouldn't record from the headset, it would record from the speaker. And so your phone's sitting there in the console of the car or in your purse, right, or in your pocket, and you think you've got your headset on and you're talking and you think it's recording. So from that standpoint, it was very frustrating. At the time, she didn't have any need, and we didn't have any need for it to join meetings. So we never tried it from that standpoint. So I
It's
don't.
funny you mentioned voice note taker because I'm on Android and I couldn't find a good voice note taker. And for a while I was using Trello, and I used to really enjoy Trello, but then I found out that Trello is so flexible it can do anything. That with my organizational skill set, that meant Trello can't do anything.
Right.
You know,
Yes.
I need a forced workflow.
That's what I don't like about Notion. Well, one of the things I don't like about Notion.
It can do anything. It can't do anything.
Then I'm not going to ever get it to do anything, right?
Now I can put a whole bunch of data in there.
So Firefly
and I can move it around. Like, can I move it to done? So I made another. I noticed it with Trello on the mobile app that I used to have. You could just use the Android keyboard record button microphone.
Right.
And so I, am a believer in web apps, and I made a silly little PWA that just lets me put a title and then gives me a big old text box so that I could type if I wanted to. But I've just found I can press record here and blah, blah, blah at my text area on a web page.
Right.
And it'll record 2 or 3 minutes worth of that.
Yeah.
Reasonably well. That's my speech to, text problem.
I think you can get about 1 or 2 minutes out of Apple's before it cuts off. Maybe it's 45 seconds or 60 seconds.
I feel like I've chatted with this thing or at this thing, or rather yelled at this thing, for maybe 5 minutes. But I used to get stuff into text content. I used to just use a Google Drive. You can go into one of those documents and you can talk at it to make it do stuff. I can't remember what the settings was. I'm going to just try to find it while we're chatting here, but you would make a new blank document and just, like you expect every single time, I want to jump into the app and start working, and I have to catch a prompt from the app developer telling me about something exciting and getting in my way when I'm trying to work. Arg!
But that sales guy in you is like, but I really want this to be able to sell this new feature.
Dude, so, I complain sometimes about advertising, and I was, having dinner and I was complaining about some advertising BS. It was frustrating me, and my wife was saying things like, well, I love advertising. Like, how else am I going to know, like, what stuff that I could buy? Yeah, here it is. Control-Shift-S, voice typing under the Tools menu. Click to speak, and you click on this little microphone, and it sort of records stuff. And I feel like it used to be able to tell you, or rather, you used to be able to tell this thing, make the next text bold, and then it would make the text bold, and then it would unbold later. Looks like it's not doing that. But can you force it to make a new line?
I wonder if it can hear
me.
Make
a new line. A new line. Fuck you.
Hit return.
Okay, so what's rad about this thing is, though, this one actually takes the profanity. I noticed on the Gemini notes and the other stuff and my casual speech gets edited out. It just puts in like S **** or something.
That's funny. Yeah. I haven't seen that in Fathom or Fireflies. From a note-taking standpoint, though, like Fireflies did, they put out a mobile app, and in that mobile app, they did put in a feature where you can just use it as a voice recorder.
All right.
So very useful. What we found is that we could record, like even just like holding the phone on speakerphone, walking on the beach next to the ocean with all of the noise and the wind. We could just record with audio memos and then upload that to Fireflies, and it would get a 98% success transcribing it. All the other transcribers running it through like Whisper. Oh my God, don't get me going on to Whisper and its hallucinations. Yeah, Whisper. If you use Whisper, it will hallucinate your transcript for you.
I fed a bunch of stuff through Whisper, and but I'm only going for medium good. And like I said, I got 1,000 of these damn meetings to do. So if some of them are off by a little bit, well, the sheer volume of stuff maybe washes that out, right? That's why data scientists like to have lots of samples. Here we go. So, but I used Whisper on all of that. And there was a couple of meetings where like my API call would time out. And the meetings are an hour, sometimes 90 minutes. And lots of times Whisper would come back with the result with a SRT or a VTT or, one of the nicely formatted ones. And it would come back with one of those results within a few minutes for a whole hour of the meeting.
Right.
The API call for an hour-long meeting does not take 1 hour. And then other meetings, especially when there was lots of people speaking, man, so I was like, oh, why is this API call failing? And then I was like, oh, maybe it timed out because I had the timeout set for 4 hours. Then I said, wait a second, man, this meeting is, this is a 67-minute meeting, bunch of different speakers though. And I'll just increase the timeout, curl option, prob the option on curl to say, yeah, now your timeout's a whole friggin' day. Never finished.
Were you able to get any chunks out of it to see what it had produced?
I couldn't get anything out of it, right? The way that the API was not streaming results at me.
Okay. Yeah, the Whisper stuff I ended up having to build chunks to feed it so I could feed it in chunks and extract it in chunks.
My next experiment on that one is to tell it, don't try to do an SRT or VTT, which is going to also try to figure out who's talking. Right. Speaker 1, speaker 2, speaker 3 bullshit. Just barf everything as text. But since my first pass of all of those recordings to text with Whisper, the new has been released, and I don't remember what their new voice to text model is called, but fortunately it's moving fast enough that I won't get to test each of those different things one at a time. I'll just switch over to the new model and stop trying to get time-stamped with speaker notes, SRT or VTT, and just get the big old text blob back and hope for the best. Because again, my objective on that one is to extract what questions are asked the most frequently.
That's my complaint about Fireflies. Fireflies has an API, and supposedly, you can utilize that API to upload a transcript, upload a audio file or video, and retrieve a transcript. It's not actually possible to do all of the things. So you can do a part of it, but you can't do the whole thing. Very frustrating. And I've communicated multiple times to their support team, and it's over their head.
What do you mean? Like, if they have an API, you just upload.
Doesn't actually have the functionality to do it. They didn't. The API was not built for the idea of putting something up. It was basically built for being able to scrape what exists, like doing these kind of recordings, going and scraping what these exist in an organization and being able to extract the data from that. But the whole idea of being able to upload something, then go find the thing that you uploaded, and then go extract the transcript from that, we didn't do it. I mean,
that's exactly what I want to do with an API.
Right. Exactly. That was like
this. That's how I'm going to rig it into my fancy Zappy, IF, or N8N contraption.
Yeah. Now they may have fixed it in the last 6 months or so since I last tried, but I don't know. So when I do, I just do it manually. I do the manual upload and then go download transcripts. It's not that horrible. I mean, I'm doing 2 or 3 or 6 files at a time, so it's not big.
Nah, my API automation starts off with I use a little notepad app on my desktop. Right click, make a new sticky note, right? And then I have the sticky note, and I organize it onto my desktops, organized into a bunch of different workspaces. And I sort of start off everything right there is do the stuff, record the meeting, do this step, do this next step. And it's not really automated. It's just a run book, which only works if you follow it. you know, I try to do. And then this one, I said I was taking these meetings from when we had the transcript, the I guess V1 transcript, not the Gemini transcript. And I'd hand that into GPT and I'd say, like, summarize the thing and give me some bullet points and, you know, speak as if you're the content creator. Because I was pasting some of what it produced. I mean, that's how I came up with the descriptions that shows up for these things on the YouTube.
Right.
You know, it's like these guys talk about caddies configuration and reverse proxies and handle path and blah, blah, blah. That was the one where we talked about Ader. Blah, 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 vendor-driven churn, right? Those were summaries that were, you know, barfed out by AI. And I get those, and then I go to publish on the YouTube, and then I publish on a Doshio blog with, and I put the whole transcript, which just looks like ass. But you got to have all that text in there for, you know, the robots. And, you know, yeah, that's it. Well, fantastic. What's another one that we don't even know about?
I don't know.
How about, oh man, how about all the different tools you can use to make a video recording and then post that, right? Sort of one of the things we're talking about with content creation, you know, the endeavor that we are actively engaging in at the moment, was getting stuck on like which tools to use. There was, you know, here there was what, 4 or 5 of these recording transcriptor conjiggers, and there's probably more that we just couldn't find or hasn't crossed the radar yet. But we were chatting at Open Coffee about video recording ones, where I think at the moment Loom is the big dog, and there's loads of other ones. I'm on a Linux desktop.
Everything that I've done for recording is either Fathom records it, Zoom records it, or Meet records it, and I deal with the output of those. I haven't tried to do anything else.
No, but this is one, like, what if you want to make the video that's you doing your product demo video, right? Yeah. Or you explaining how to do something. So the training video or the marketing video circumstance, let me just record my cool app for 4 minutes and post it somewhere, right? And I want to do it in 1 or 2 clicks. And I want to have my camera engaged and me and my camera engaged, but my image is just in the lower left or right of the thing. And I want to have a watermark on it. And then I want to have my full screen of the app that I'm recording showing up. And that all needs to blend into one nice video. And then once it's done and recorded, I need to want to get it into YouTube or Vimeo or PeerTube, or I think Loom actually hosts the stuff to make it super, super one-click easy. Click this button, here's your link, and here's, like, press this other button to copy it into an iframe or whatever. You know, and I could, you know, while we were sitting there talking about this, we said, oh, you got to talk about whatever the competitive matrix looks like. What other tools exist in the space? Because it's not just, you know, it's not just Loom, you know. And I was actually really surprised. There's probably, we found a dozen of them, you know, and then found the webpage. It was like 11 alternatives to Loom. And I was like, oh, okay. So that means we found 12 actually, Loom plus those 11. I think I have those notes somewhere. Like
Loom is one of the products that's in that space for doing async video communication. So you can just record your video message and send it to someone. So basically you can Slack someone a video of you talking instead of having to type it. I have heard from CTOs that their teams are enjoying that sometimes. The right people in the right space are enjoying that idea.
I mean, it's not the tool for everybody, but even way back in 2013, 2012, you know, at Discuss, one of the things that, you know, our CEO was doing when we were this very small team and had lots of outsourced remote help, different time zones, things like this. We spent a lot of times making a 4-minute video. There was no transcript. There was nothing. Whoever received it has to watch all 4 minutes. And there wasn't a lot of easy workflows for putting that kind of stuff together. And your camera wasn't enabled and you didn't have watermark. Record my screen and my voice for 5 minutes, send, That's awesome. I don't know. I guess I feel like we talked that one to death, man. That's a wrap.
Cool.
Episode 7. Cool. What do I say? Cut.